motion to approve that, except I can't pronounce that word.
The 200,
What is semi-quincentennial?
250 years.
250th anniversary.
The semi-quins, I move that we approve the purchase order for $2,000 for the
Second.
semi-quincentennial committee.
So it's been moved by Mike, seconded by Charlie. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That purchase order is approved. And then we have building maintenance and repairs in the amount of $3,900. Paul, is that this building?
That's what this building.
Is that just ongoing?
Yeah.
Upkeep and.
I will make a motion to approve that.
I will second. So it's been moved by Mike, seconded by me. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? That was approved. And next we have cross-country appraisals, third cyclical review work, and final pay for fiscal year 2010, 2011 in the amount of $15,000.
Right. Usually we receive the bill by now, and we haven't. There's only 3 days left in the year, so I want to take a chance, so we do need to. We haven't made our fourth payment.
So this just lets us pay it in the next fiscal
Yeah,
year.
it's still for this past year.
Do I have a motion to approve?
Moved.
Second.
It's been moved by Dick, seconded by Mike. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That's approved. And then a purchase order for Cartographic Associates tax map updates, final payment, $1,750.
Same reason with that one. We haven't received the final invoice for this fiscal year.
But this is this a portion of the contracted
Yep.
amount? Make a motion to approve that.
Second?
It's been moved by Mike, seconded by Dick. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? That is also approved. So, moving on to new purchase orders. Casino Clogston, the annual fee for the Lakes Region Fire Communication Services.
Good evening,
Good
Chief.
evening, Chief.
As it indicates, this is just the annual fee to have Lakes Region Dispatch do the dispatching for the fire and ambulance. This is a portion of the 37 or 35 towns that buy into this dispatch center. With it, we do get some perks from it. It's not just dispatching. They have a training division that is getting up and running, and there's a lot of training opportunities for free of charge for members. And it allows us to be able to call on our neighboring towns, and they can't charge us for that. That's all part of the contract of being part of the Lakes Region Mutual Aid. So
I'm going to show my ignorance again, but who runs this? Do you know?
it is run by all 35 towns.
Mm-hmm.
We all sit on the board of directors, and it's a group. We have a chief that runs the dispatch center, but any financials, anything else like that goes through the whole process, gets approved by the board of directors. There's an executive committee.
Where is the dispatch?
Dispatch centers in Laconia.
And are the shares broken up on a population basis?
Population and evaluation.
Okay.
So,
Evaluation,
of the town.
The risks or the amount of calls it gets, or that's
Nope. No, it does not. So if
Oh,
we
you
did
mean
if
the,
we did 5 calls,
evaluation.
right?
Oh,
The
the
evaluation. I'm
evaluation.
sorry, the
Okay.
evaluation. So if we did 5 calls, based on that formula, the cost would be the same.
Right.
What is the population basis for, the number for Plymouth?
It's the one that you file with the state.
I mean, how many people, do you remember? offhand?
Believe that one is the one that actually equates with around the 6,000 mark.
The 800?
Yeah.
So it includes the university?
Oh, is this about what it was last year?
Yep, and there's a push, we had our budget committee, and there's a push to level fund or come in under for the next one.
How long have we been a part of this, if you know?
Before me,
Before you?
yeah.
I make a motion to approve that.
Second.
It's been moved by Mike, seconded by Charlie, that we approve the purchase order for Lakes Region Mutual Fire Aid, our pro rata share in the amount of $42,493.15. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That purchase order is approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have committee reports. Charlie?
I have nothing.
Dick?
I guess you have nothing to.
Well, I actually went to the Plymouth Energy Commission meeting at which there was just a general discussion about, energy conservation and the kinds of things we're working on. It was mostly Madeline talking about better buildings and what she's doing with that program, and some things about how many people have applied and what stage the work is at and that sort of thing. That was most of it. And then I also went to the Plymouth Water and Sewer District meeting, and they were primarily talking about the college is having some difficulty with some of the water. I think they're having some discoloration at the town. The district is working on with them. That was the primary topic of conversation.
Should note that that's been going on for quite a while.
Yeah, it sounded like
When I was a rep, they had Alex Ray, Langdon Wood had some serious problems. I don't know what your personal experience is in Plymouth, but if you get a hot water heater to go more than 5 years, it's a miracle.
Well, it sounds like a fairly complex system. I'm learning a lot. There's a lot of pumps and tanks and pipes and stuff running all of this. And there's a lot of things that need to be cleaned out and flushed and, run, and so I think they're doing the best they can. I think it's pretty, complex.
Planning board meeting almost 2 weeks ago. We had a busy agenda. We had the age-restricted housing on Fairground Road. That's continued to the workshop meeting, sort of next meeting of the planning board in what? 7th, yeah. And we had the skateboard park came in for a site plan, and it was approved. And what was the last one?
Minor two-lot subdivision.
Yeah, up on Reservoir Road, that was approved also.
All right. Under new business, Chief Temporino with the signage on High Street.
It was a little bit after the time when the Senzo Bridge was completed, and the roundabout was completed, that residents of High Street noticed that there was more traffic flowing through their neighborhood. And with the realignment of the streets, it's intuitive for traffic to flow in town and drive halfway around the circle and go right up the street. And I think a lot of the traffic was university-based, looking for places to go. Some of it was people trying to cut around Main Street during high traffic times, or just cutting through the neighborhoods. So at that point, the residents had approached some members of the Highway Safety Committee and asked if their road could be designated as a one-way road at first. And we'd given that some thought. It was our feeling that one-way traffic would probably interfere with the residential use of that traffic. Anyone coming out of their driveway would have to be making a right-hand turn and couldn't make a left-hand turn, which would be complicated. At that time, I think it was Peter Fermanic and I came up with the idea, mainly it was Peter, who liked better the idea of posting signs that say "Do not enter," to prohibit people from pulling into that street, but still allowing two-way traffic to flow through that area. This was after an attempt a couple years ago to post signs that say residential only, and they had probably marginal effect on the problem. So with the posting of signs closer to the intersection, large official-looking sign that says "Do not enter," it's our hope that less traffic that is approaching that intersection will travel through that neighborhood, especially if they don't know their way around. Residents who know their way around will have to drive around and enter that roadway through Emerson Street. So That's our suggestion.
What is is that Langdon there?
What you see right here, this is Langdon Street, this is High Street facing westerly, so the university is behind you, right here. The signs are, this view is standing right here, looking this way.
Right.
So the signs that we're proposing would be here and here, and they'd be somewhere in this vicinity right here. So when you came to the intersection, you would have to make a left or a right-hand turn, you would not go.
So I can still go down Langdon Street and turn down High to go to the dump and pass downtown, right?
Say that again?
I can still go down Langdon and take a right on High
Yes, you
to
can.
the roundabout to go to the dump instead of,
Right.
I like it.
But you couldn't turn
I would not.
left to High. Now,
Right.
I guess one of the things that this,
Yeah.
this picture does show several houses on High Street just after where the proposed signs go. And I would imagine that the residents of those homes, if they are getting off 93 and coming around the roundabout and wanting to get home, are not going to be too thrilled with not being able to go up High Street, to enter High Street to get to their homes.
Well, the first house you see on the left, the right, is a rental property. That's traditionally rented to university students. Traditionally, they're pedestrian-based,
Okay.
so I don't think there'll be a lot. The next house on the right is is traditionally residential, as is the third house on the right is residential, and I think the next house over is residential. I believe the first house, or the first building on your left, is a commercial piece of property. That's a Fairpoint telephone.
Yeah.
The next building is a residential home, but I think that's also rented out to students. So really, the first two are probably traditionally rentals, which occasionally go in and out, but for the most part, students are pedestrian-based in this part of the community. And I also think anyone getting off the highway, now that there are two different ways of getting off the highway, might exit at the next exit, actually head into town south, in a southward direction, and come up Merrill Street to go around. So it is a minor inconvenience, but it's really minor.
Okay. And you also say that the residents of the area have asked for it to be a one-way street, so it would have been one way going the other way anyway.
This is a far less intrusive regulation than having a one-way. I think one of the concerns is, in our neighborhoods, we want it to work for us, but we also want to sort around it too. I mean, there's no way I could make a regulation that the residents could go both ways, but everyone else, so that's clearly impossible. So I think by just prohibiting entering that street from Langdon is the easiest solution.
But if you live up there, you can come out
Anybody can go
on
both.
the street.
Correct. Anybody can go both ways on that street. You just can't enter the street from the Langdon Street, High Street intersection. You can only enter from Emerson and High.
Interesting. Give it a try.
Have you reached out to the folks up there, to the residents?
I
Obviously
have
the
not
students.
pulled every one of them, but I've had several of them approach me on this issue about this. So my sense is that a majority are clearly in favor of this.
Makes sense, as opposed to one way.
Does this require a vote?
No.
I didn't think so. Well, let's see how it works. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
All right. Moving on to other business. Paul, you have an update on Page Street?
On Page Street, we've seen that there is a resolution to the people on that street that were having drainage problems and flooding problems, especially in the springtime, and I'm just gonna call Sharon up because it coincides with the next bulleted item. It's actually the Plymouth Wood apartment project that will
Okay.
help alleviate the problem.
I love to be the bearer of good news for change instead of bad. The Plymouth Woods Apartments had a drainage study done, and the project is back on the table again, as we know. I mean, because the litigation is over. They'll be coming before the planning board relatively soon to look over some issues that were compliance issues and also just to catch the board up to speed. So helping to get that along, they're working with North Point Engineering, and lo and behold, part of the drainage mitigation for the Plymouth Woods project relates directly to the drainage and flooding, if you will, issues that, the runoff issues that have been existing up there. The project, I can do show and tell for you because I think it's really important just to look at these two schematics. By virtue of the fact of the drainage program, drainage project, there's going to be essentially 4 different items that are going to be constructed there. The natural pond, the existing pond has no natural outlet, as you know, and there has been a bit of an overspill problem there. Also, a lot of the flooding is related to seasonal melt and stuff coming down from the hillside there and the topography. Actually, once again, this drainage report is really very readable to the layman and got a lot of good information. Anyway, the existing pond has no natural outlet. As part of the site improvements for the development, the pond is going to get a 1-2 punch. There's going to be a small earth berm constructed at the end of Page Street, which will provide a natural barrier, and a new grass-lined swale, which is essentially going to be a permanent outlet for the pond, and is going to take that water and make it go bypass Page Street and go where it should go. There is also going to be, that's kind of the off-site stormwater capacity system. There's going to be an on-site system which includes a retention basin which has infiltration, which means the water will percolate down and take out any whatevers and just give a chance to go naturally into the water table. So let me show you the good part. This obviously is part of the mitigation for drainage on Plymouth Woods, so there's no cost to the town. This is the before. It's kind of interesting to look at. You can see that the path of any overflow or drainage goes right down. You know, the path of least resistance goes right down to Page Street. Yeah, and when I show you the next one, which represents the engineering design, that same pathway that you see on the pre-development schematic there is greatly, greatly reduced, almost to the point of being non-existent, and it will incorporate, you've already got your culverts there, so whatever little bit of seepage you've got will be taken care of, and you can see where the newly constructed natural berms and swales will just take that and take it right over where it belongs. So we're very pleased to see that the problem in the aspect of this new development is going to take care of itself.
These arrows still on Page Street.
Well, that just shows a water course. That's your, that's the old course. If you can see the arrows and the one Charlie's got. Right, but they're not dark, they're just outlines.
Okay.
So that shows reduced.
I see.
And there is, you know, some
So they expect that there may be some water coming down. Page
very
Street.
little, and you've got that culvert there, but the original problem, as I understand it, was once the pond overflowed, there was no place, there was no mechanism for that to go.
This,
Yeah, it's just all flat.
oh,
Yeah.
okay, this is the grass lines.
Yeah.
And this is the old course of
Well, that's encouraging.
It certainly is. It's nice when development works to the positive, so.
So do we have a timeline on when the
Well, certainly before the next spring flood, I would think. I mean, they're going before the planning board. I can't project specifically when they might start construction, but they're very aware of this issue.
Was this part of their planning? How did it come about that they did this engineering plan?
This was part of their original approval of Plymouth Woods.
Mm-hmm.
The date of the report was May 2010, so it was, I'm sure it was a condition of approval.
Is this the same sort of
Project that-
proposal we were talking about in the zoning board when they were there?
Yes.
Is it-
Yeah.
Oh, the one, right, that had the litigation and the post-approval litigation and went to
Multiple
Superior
meetings.
Court, right. Big, long laundry list. So it's back on the docket because it did get approval and you know, jumped through all the hoops on the litigation, so.
Good.
Yeah, it is good.
So do the Page Street folks know?
I think they just found out.
Okay.
We've been making an attempt to contact
Yeah,
them.
we will. Paul and I have been speaking to them here and there, but in looking at mitigation for this problem over the last few months, we realized that this was a perfect dovetail, so.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, like I said, it makes me happy when things work out the way they should. And I just, Madam Chair, if you'd like me to just segue into the next.
Yes, please.
It's just kind of FYI. I did follow up on your direction to get going on appointing at least one person to our local river advisory committee, the Pemigewasset River Local Advisory Committee. We have had Mr. John Kelly offer up his efforts to be on that committee. I did delve into it. It's an appointment, as you probably know, that comes first from the Board of Selectmen and then goes to the Commissioner of DES. We can have up to 3 representatives, and they each have a 3-year term. So I didn't know if you wanted to go beyond just the initial one warm body and see if there was anyone else out there, if you folks had any recommendations, or, I mean,
If anyone else is interested in serving, that would be terrific.
yeah, the corridor management plan is being updated as we speak, so it's a really good opportunity for people to get in and you know, speak to issues they feel are important, and the fact that, you know, the river does run through Plymouth. I think it's really important to have representation. I've been going intermittently just to try to keep my finger on the
Just,
pulse.
For me and the
Sure.
listening audience, what does this outfit do?
This outfit is it's a subcommittee. It's a state, the river, I've got all this stuff over there, but legislation came to bear in 1988, I believe, it was from the feds on down for river corridor protection. And Plymouth is one, Pemigewasset it's Monday, I can't talk. The Pemigewasset is one of the rivers that has been designated as a river of great import in the state. And this committee functions at the state level with, I think there's 11 shareholders from different factions, but they get their information on how to create policy and management from the local level. So each of these rivers has its own local advisory committee, which really does work, you know, on the ground to get the issues out there and just look over concerns and funnel it up through. And that's what we are looking to essentially have representatives to now, because we really haven't had a lot of participation. I know that Mike Ahern was on that committee a ways back, but it just is one of those things, and Jack Scarborough was too before. But right now, there is no representation from the town of Plymouth.
Pemigewasset River Local Advisory Committee, or PERLAC.
PERLAC. PERLAC is the acronym, because it's hard to get that out, especially on a Monday. There is some paperwork for you folks to fill out, so shall we just wait a little bit longer and see if someone else steps up, or how would you like me to proceed?
I think so.
Okay,
Wait.
okay. Perhaps the person should get in touch with me if they are interested, because they need to fill out a questionnaire just to see where their interests lie.
And if anyone listening to our meeting tonight is interested in serving on this committee, please contact the town planner, Sharon Penny, and let her know of your interest. Thank you.
Okay,
As
that's,
soon as we get that second person, hopefully, we put the paperwork in the signature file, so
Yep.
we can have it signed with our manifest.
Great.
all right.
Thank you.
That's it, thank you.
All right, next on our agenda, we have Annie Schneider with rights-based ordinances to protect the town. Annie?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, it's gonna be a series of us, okay? Does that
Okay.
work okay?
You can either be a series, or you
Oh,
can
yeah,
all come
okay,
up
I
at
don't know how this
once.
works.
That's fine, too.
Okay, all right, good enough. And first of all, my total apologies for not being here last week. I totally thought it was Tuesday. I just thought that the meeting was Tuesday.
We all showed up right on time the wrong night.
I'm so sorry. So, anyway, I'm gonna basically let Peter and Jesse talk a little bit about what we're planning to do and planning to educate people about and find a way. What we're trying to do has come forth through the Northern Pass being shedding light on some of the holes that we have. And I know, Mr. Lewis, in light of that, I can't say this, because this is, Northern Pass has only shed a light on that, this is not what the whole thing is about, because this rights-based ordinance, not this one, but any rights-based ordinance, is a town issue. So therefore, I can't tell you what, the thing to do here is. So it's sort of it sort of goes back and forth, so you need to listen and you need to be part of it.
If I get uncomfortable, I'll step down.
Oh,
And if I get uncomfortable, I'll speak up. So anyway, with just that being said, I'm just gonna let Peter go on because he really studies and knows the details of what we're looking at. And again, this having shed light on huge vacancies and troubles that we're seeing nationwide. So anyway, there you go.
Hi, I'm Pete Martin. Good to meet you. And thank you all for letting us speak with you this evening. Recent developments, and I guess we could start with Northern Pass as an example.
Could you speak into the microphone a little
Okay.
bit? So-
Northern Pass is just an example of the fact that the United States is under attack by corporate interests, and I don't want to over-dramatize this, but basically what it amounts to is that there is a land rush on to cash in on electric transmission lines and pipelines and fracking and so forth and so on. And in many places, this is proving to be a disaster because people can't fight back. The permitting process is constructed at the federal and state levels to get the applicant to yes. In other words, when they go, if they fill all the squares and fill out the paperwork correctly, it's almost a gimme. So with the Northern Pass issue, we find ourselves fighting with one hand behind our backs because we are looking at the almost certain granting, for instance, of the presidential permit. Not because they deserve a presidential permit, but because they just go through the process. So it's like so much else with our government now, with our federal and state governments, and that is that the corporations are writing the regulations, and that's what I mean. So in some cases, the results are absolutely catastrophic. In Pennsylvania, for instance, the fracking is causing disastrous pollution of the water tables and liberation of methane and so forth. And so the people there tried to fight back, but the fracking companies said, well, we have all our permits and you can't stop us. And the state of Pennsylvania would not help because they said, you have all the permits and you can't stop them. So they went to an organization called CELDF, Community Environmental Legal Defense Fund. And I gave you all a packet a couple of weeks ago about this. I hope that everybody got it. And that's quite a ringtone.
Yeah.
So the city of Pittsburgh approached CELDF
and said, these people are beginning to frack in Pittsburgh, and this is environmentally catastrophic. Can you help us?
Could you just, very briefly, just for our listening audience, give a brief definition of what fracking is?
Oh, fracking is hydraulic fracturing of the underlaying rock, and it is shale rock, and they're trying to extract gas from it. And without fracturing the rock, they can't get the gas, but they have to use hydraulic fluid, which is a mixture of water and priority chemicals, they call them. Some of them are as poisonous as benzene. So they're polluting the deep water. They're liberating vast quantities of gas, which is what they want to do, but unfortunately, it's uncontrolled at the depths that they're doing it. So people literally have been able to light their tap water on fire. So if we think we have a problem with Northern Pass, this is small potatoes in a sense. So the city of Pittsburgh went to CELDF when they were told that they couldn't stop it. And CELDF basically told them, you need to change the way you write your ordinances. And that means that we need to start thinking new thoughts. Ordinances will be written and designed based on our constitutional rights, inalienable rights, to control our own environment and our own laws and our own communities. And so Pittsburgh did that. Being desperate, they did it. And it was challenged in court, and Pittsburgh won. Now, this is an extraordinary event lately because most communities are losing. Now, we dodged the bullet here because the alternate route is not going through. But our neighboring towns are not going to dodge the bullet unless we all change our behavior. And what I mean by that is we can change the way we write our ordinances based on our inalienable constitutional rights, under the U.S. and New Hampshire Constitution, we the people. And in so doing, we can fight back effectively and basically chase them out. Now, it isn't just about Hydro-Quebec and Northern Pass. It's about factory farming, for instance, or fracking, or sludge spreading, things that we really, as a community, don't want. That's very, very seriously deleterious to us. So this is where we would like to go. And we would certainly like to meet with you and help you understand how we base this and what can be done with it. And I invite any of you who are interested to go to a one-day school on this that they do run. And it's not real expensive. It's well worth sitting in.
When you say that they run, who's that?
CELDF, Community Environmental Legal Defense Fund.
Is there a chapter of that group?
There is a, here's something for you. The New Hampshire representative is Gail Darryl, and she lives in Barnstead. And she is the woman who runs the schools in New Hampshire. And Jesse and I have been to school already. So I really appreciate your time this evening. I would encourage you to look into it further.
And the one-day schools, are they offered? How often are they?
Well, we have a school on the 10th of September, and there's another school that can be run on the 11th. And the school on the 11th, if it's run, if we can get enough students in it, will be run right here in Plymouth. So we are, and I'm going to turn that over to Jessie now and let her read to you a sample of how the ordinance would be written. All right? I thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Hi. Is this on? Is this on? My name is Jessie Sharon, and I live here in Plymouth up on Texas Hill Road, and originally the route was going to go right next door to me, the alternate route. But like Peter says, this isn't just about Northern Pass. We're interested in getting ordinances that represent the people of Plymouth and each town but the people of Plymouth to represent our rights over corporations. We want to protect our environment from all kinds of things. We want to be proactive. We're not just fighting Northern Pass. We really want to create ordinances that will protect our community, our ecosystems, that will protect our health, safety, and welfare of the residents in Plymouth. We would like to do this we're working on a draft to create a sustainable energy policy and a community self-government ordinance to protect ourselves here. And it's our hope that other towns in New Hampshire would do the same. We understand, or I believe that I've heard that the selectmen have unanimously opposed Northern Pass. I don't know if that's true.
We have
That you've come out publicly and said that.
one recusal.
And I don't know if you have any plans at all of your own, but we would like to come together with you and try to work on this together. We've been to Democracy School. It's called Democracy School. It's a one-day school. And we've spoken with lawyers who have come up, who have been successful in other states. They've also been successful in other towns in New Hampshire. For instance, they've managed to get Nestle to pull their 24 wells out of Barnstead, New Hampshire. They were in there drawing out over 400,000 gallons of water a day to sell bottled water. And it's my belief that New Hampshire and New England is lots of companies have their eye on us for things like bottled water, and particularly energy, wind energy. These transmission lines that Northern Pass is talking about, they have other future plans. I don't know if anyone is really looked into that, but Peter's done a lot of research. There are other projects that they're planning on coming down through New Hampshire, Maine, Vermont. They're not just going to stop with one transmission line. We're going to become a highway of lines for Hydro-Quebec. It's an enormous, huge project, and they have no intention of stopping. In fact, they're enlarging it right now. They're planning on draining 2 more rivers into that project. And if you read information on their site, their plan is to sell that power to New England. They're not selling it to, Western United States or any place else. They're selling it to us. And they have to get those lines all over the place. Once they open up this project, it's going to open the door for all kinds of other transmission lines from them. But our focus here is to prevent any companies from coming in and telling us what we're going to be doing in Plymouth. We know what we want in our community, and we need to be proactive now to protect our environment, to have what we want in place. So if other companies come in, they can't just walk right over us. We don't believe that corporations should be able to come in and take over our communities. There's a little thing that was written here. It's the right to self-government. And we believe that all the residents of Plymouth possess a fundamental right to form a government where they live, which recognizes that all power is inherent in the people, that all free governments are founded on the people's authority and consent, and that corporate entities and their directors and managers shall not enjoy special privileges or powers under the law which make community majorities subordinate to them. And that's kind of what this is based on. It's based on our rights, and we would like to have a Bill of Rights for our community.
So are there sample ordinances involved with this?
There are.
Well, we're working on it, and we would like to present a draft to you, but we're not quite ready to do that.
We also, if you would like, would ask Gail Darryl to come and speak with you. And I think she's very, very informative, and I'm sure you would not be bored. If you could find some time when you would like to have a meeting with her, and she will sit down and talk with you.
Who is that?
Gail Darryl is a director for New Hampshire for CELDF.
Oh,
She's the one that
She's
lives
an
in
engineer.
Barnstead.
She was very actively involved in getting the wells pulled out of Barnstead and creating ordinances
Yeah.
there to protect their community, and they were successful, and they continue to be successful. No one has been able to come in and change what they put in place.
I'd like to add something here now, and to relieve any anxieties. This is not anti-business.
Exactly.
And it is not partisan. It is not Democrat, Republican, you name it, and it is not anti-business. This is about the people taking control of their destiny. So that some huge corporation cannot come in here and say to us, we have permits, we're going to extract your groundwater. Or we're going to build a pipeline right through Plymouth and start taking people's property and so forth. So this is about us changing the rules so that the people, again, have some rights. Because what's happening all over the United States, a couple of examples. There's a called XL pipeline. It's going to go from the tar sands in Alberta all the way to Port Arthur, Texas. And they are going to take people's property all the way down, and many states are not protecting their citizens. Now, our state right now is in the process of dealing with HB 648, which is all about protecting us through eminent domain law. I was in Concord today working on this, but this is a big deal for us, because if we don't have those kinds of protections, then corporations can come and say, well, we're going to build a power line and get out, or we'll take your property, or whatever they want to do. So this is what we're trying to get accomplished, that we protect the people and is not anti-business.
And we believe in growth, and we realize that our energy needs may increase, but we would like to invite the kind of businesses into our community that we want to have here, as opposed to people just imposing what they want on us. You know, we can have good energy and sustainable energy without relying on this project.
Is there any questions?
And would you be interested in follow-up information both from Gail Darryl and from these folks? Would you like to see the ordinances that they're proposing?
I think it would be interesting to see what sort of
Yeah.
ordinance might be proposed. I mean, because that would be the kind of thing we might do, I suppose, or you might do by bringing it to town meeting, or,
Right.
so it'd be interesting to know what it is you have in mind, you know, in writing. I understand what you're saying, but, you know, if you write that down.
Well, no, we will be more than happy to do that for you. One last thing. This is going on in a lot of towns, from here north and south. And we already have one school going right here in the state. She and I went to a school in Maine.
Mm-hmm.
So we're hopeful, if we can get 20 or 30 towns to do this, that we will begin to really assert some citizen power again. So, thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
All right. We have unfinished business. Have we any public comment? There being none, I'd like to move that we go into a non-public session in accordance with RSA 91-A:3, 2, A through C.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved by Charlie, seconded by Mike. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Non-public.